All right. Hey, guys, we're here. Thank you for coming in and watching the show. Jared and I are both here to talk all things wrestling. I think I'm
Welcome
going to
to
try this.
March Madness, and the madness has just begun.
There we go. And the madness it will be. Because I think, oh, yeah. Well, we're supposed to be streaming all over the place today, but if you were expecting us to stream on X tonight, there was an error. So we are not on X tonight after all. But we're other places. We're on Facebook, YouTube. That's about it. We're not as many people as I thought we would be. All righty. Well, Jared, let's just get right to it. The men finished fifth. I believe Penn State finished about 80 points ahead of Nebraska. Is that correct?
Yes, what we got here is Penn State with 181 and a half points, Nebraska second with 137 points, and Iowa actually got third with 112 points, and Minnesota was just right behind with 108 and a half points.
You know, that kind of shocked me at Minnesota sneaking up and Illinois sneaking up the way they did, because I just had this awful feeling that we were going to drop behind both Minnesota and Illinois in the standings, because I think at one point about 1.5 points separated the three of them.
Yeah, and there were some big matches in the finals. Obviously, three Hawkeyes making to the finals. No,
Except we didn't get any points for that.
0 points.
Huh?
Exactly. I mean, just underperformed. I mean, Kyle Drake, Drake Ayula at 133. I mean, his head was low. He was just asking. I mean, for Lucas Bird of Illinois, just we call it a cow catcher, and they got him, and it was just so tight. He was not going to get out of that. But keep in mind, I believe Tom Brands was pinned before too, and I'm pretty sure he had to give some nice coaching experience advice about that too. As for oh, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, how does the guy who's number one seed in his bracket allow himself to get pinned, which I believe was right at the start of the second period?
It's poor situational awareness. I mean, you just got to know. I mean, they teach us you got to keep your head up. If your head is down, I mean, head hunting and try to do whatever they can to turn you.
Okay, well, let's just start with 125. Let's talk about each individual weight and what happened there. Let's start with Joey Cruz, and he came into the tournament as a fifth seed. He took 10th overall. Yes. And so my question, and he's one spot out of an automatic, so he will have to get a at-large berth.
I'm fairly confident he can get it because he's had some big upset wins. I believe he's actually had a top 15 win, so that might be enough for him to get the at-large. But I mean, he's not going to have a good seat at all at nationals.
No, he's not. The poor guy's going to have to wrestle some pretty high people to begin with. But the thing is that bothers me is I predicted before the seedings came out that we were going to struggle with Joey Cruz at 125. And then the seedings came out at number 5, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, I guess there's people that know more about, wrestling than I do, know more about Joey Cruz. So I'm excited that he's got a 5th seed. And then he just blows it up.
Yeah, he wins his first match against Christian Tanafu of Michigan, 11-7, just comfortably. I would say comfortably before he ran into the eventual conference champion, Luke Lillendahl of Penn State with the number 4 seed, and he just tore through the competition. I mean, except for the finals where he just only won 4-3 against Smith of Nebraska. But yeah, once Cruz lost there, he got sent to the backside, and that's when he lost to Michigan State's Caleb Wayand, and just 10-5, sent him for the 9th, 10th place match. He just, he's just definitely underperformed.
Let's back up before we move on. Okay, the one thing that concerned me was our lack of takedown points, offensive points. It seems like we racked up some escape points, but then it just seemed like we couldn't get any really offense going, get any takedowns, or any reversals, anything like that. It just seems odd that were we just wrestling to not get beat, or were we wrestling because Tom Brand says that I don't want you guys getting overly aggressive because you might do something stupid and get pinned.
Well, I'm pretty sure he doesn't want wrestlers to be reckless. There's one thing to be aggressive, to keep on shooting, attacking the legs, everything, but be reckless and just exposing yourself to a counterattack. But I think just some people, I mean, it's the Big Ten tournament. You just got to be ready for it. And keep in mind, only 4 number 1 seeds won their weight classes. 4 out of the 10.
Right. Yeah. And they just talked about, Hawk Central has a great article. I wish I had it right up here in front of me right now. But they just talked about, about about the lack of offensive points that we got, and just how it seems like everybody else was doing that against us. I mean, we had people turn around and at the last second get a takedown to take a win away from us in a couple times, something like that. It's just like we're opening ourselves up, and it really bothered me, the lack of aggressiveness by our wrestlers.
Yeah, and I don't know if that's a coaching issue or is that an individual issue. Is that a confidence from the wrestlers? But it seems like competing at the whatever level their competition is for most of these people.
Yeah. Okay. Well, okay. At 133, we already talked about Drake Ayala, who
because he was having a really good tournament up until that one point in the second period.
Yeah.
I mean, and Lucas Burt, I believe he is the returning runner-up at 133. I believe he's returning Big Ten champion at 133. Because keep in mind, Drake was at 125, who got third, and he decides to go up a weight class along with other wrestlers. And usually, go ahead.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, I got these things in my mind, and my mind is not as organized as it should be. Backing up to 125, do you see? Is his first name Drew Ayala, the little brother?
Yeah, Drew.
Do you see him taking over the 125 spot next year? Because I believe he's far superior than Joey.
Like, I'm not in the practice room or anything, but I mean, if he's anything like his brother, I'm pretty sure he's competitive, if anything. But I mean,
I understand he could beat his brother.
That's what old little brother.
All right, well, let's move to 141 where we have nobody.
Reaver. I mean, he just kind of struggled. I mean, got with the 11 seed, gave Joseph Oliveira of Rutgers. I mean, gave him a good first round match, but I mean, a loss is still a loss. Losing 4-2, gets sent to the backside. Actually gets a tech fall over Michigan State's Jaden Crumpler. I mean, it's a tech fall, so bonus points right there.
Okay.
But then loses to the 5th seed, which he's going to have a tough time no matter what. Limley of Michigan loses that match 8-3, and I really don't think he's going to get an at-large bid, to be honest.
Okay.
So the best he's going to do is qualify 9 out of the 10 weight classes.
Yeah, he I had forgotten about how bad the 141 weight is. We have actually nobody that was better than him. I mean, this is a Division I Hawkeye wrestling team. Certainly we have somebody in that room that could do that job there.
I thought Victor Voinovich, the third, the transfer from Oklahoma State, I thought he could have made the weight class. But he's still on the roster according to here, which I don't think we've seen very much of him.
So maybe he's saving him for next year?
It's possible.
Okay. And I do know that we had some transfers out in that weight class area that could have made a difference this year.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to 149.
Okay. Just a second. And I believe that is Parco.
I think Parco lost his last match as well.
Kyle Parco, yes, he goes away with a 4th place. He just got, I mean, it's nice to have a first round bye. Gets through, Northwestern's Sam Cartella, 15-7, before just getting demolished by Ridge Lovett. He's the returning big champ at this weight class, losing that match 2, goes on winning 1-0. Yeah, Lovett gets that revenge match over. Oh, no, it wasn't. Oh, yeah, because Van Ness, Penn State, he was also number 1 seed, and he ended up third.
He ended up at third.
Yeah.
Yeah. So just your luck to go into a third place match against somebody who was seeded number 1 and didn't make it that far.
Yeah. But man, I mean, Parko just got demolished by Van Ness too, 13-0. And I was really hoping. I know he kind of struggled against Van Ness at Penn State Duel, but I mean that's a home site advantage. And at the Big Ten tournament, I was hoping that it's more of a neutral area, so I was kind of hoping to do better performance-wise.
Yeah. Kelvin wants to know who transferred out because of the Ferrari brother last year, and what weight was he? I don't believe it had anything to do with. He just didn't want to be in the same weight room with the Ferraris, right?
I believe it's at 197. He went to Iowa State.
Oh yeah, he went to Iowa State, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, and that was like a number 1 recruit guy too. So.
And after flipping the Hawkeye fans the middle fingers after that, it would probably would never worked out. But
yeah, makes you wonder if that guy wished he'd have stayed since he wasn't coming anyway. Okay, alrighty.
And I'll bring AJ Ferrari once we get to 197 because right now he's the only undefeated wrestler at that weight class.
Yeah, the 197 is the way he wrestled at. I thought it was 184.
AJ Ferrari. You're thinking of Angelo Ferrari, his younger brother.
Yeah, right. Okay. So, talking about moving Arnold down to 174 and then Ferrari at 184.
Yep, that's what's going to probably happen. I mean, the problem they had at 174 is they have Gabe Arnold, who's probably the best wrestler at that weight class, but he's good, actually he's probably is good enough to be an All-American at 84. I mean, as long as he has a good plan.
Yeah.
And not like underperform, but yeah, you have Nelson Brands and Patrick Kennedy at 174, and I don't know how the coaches determined Kennedy was going to start, but he's our guy.
Yeah. Kennedy's been an All-American in the past. I mean, I can't remember what he placed last year.
And remember, Nelson Brands was also a returning All-American, but he got in trouble with gambling stuff.
Yeah, but he didn't actually wrestle this year, did he? He was
in and out. He did wrestle. He did compete a few matches, but I don't know why. I don't know how the Brands determined Patrick Kennedy to give him the start.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's go back now. Where are we at on weight class? I want to make sure everybody understands what place everybody got.
Yeah. Ja'Cory Teamer. I actually had him. I picked him to make it to the finals, and what a disappointment.
Yeah, you texted that to me in the middle of that.
I mean, he's a very talented guy. I mean, all of his losses have been in overtime, like either by a takedown or 1 point right out. So I mean, the talent is there, but oh man, he's got to be more aggressive. He's got to score. If you look at some of his matches here, okay, he wins 7-2 first round match, Luke Melcher of Wisconsin, before losing that overtime match by Tommy Askey, Minnesota, and gets sent over. See, he wins 20-9 against Kreiser of Illinois. 20-9. He can put points on.
He can.
But then
and the other overtime loss that he have,
Miller, Maryland, 2-1.
Yeah, wasn't that tied at the end of the final 30 seconds, the second 30-second period? And how did they determine that the other one got the win? Because to me, it looked like the score was still tied on the board.
Tied, I believe he had more writing time.
Okay. Was it writing time or coin flip? Because I did see a coin flip.
If you the coin flip just determines who gets to decide what position to start, either top.
Oh, okay. All right. But he had more writing time. Okay. All righty. Too bad. Too bad that he lost that.
Yeah. And also, he wins comfortably 8-3 against Saladate of Michigan. So, can he All-American? I think he has the talent, but, I mean, he's going to have to wrestle flawless, like, score more points.
Okay. He wrestled for who last year? I forget.
Oh, I can look that up real quick.
Okay.
He was at Arizona State last year.
And what did he place last year in nationals?
Oh, I would have to look that up. Now it'll probably take me too much time. But I believe and Parko, I believe, are both four-time All-Americans.
I know they're all Americans, and I think they both performed a little higher than what you know. So my question is did we waste some money on Teamer? Because this is like 1 year and he's gone.
Yeah, you say so. The perception looks like brands are trying to buy a national title, and it just doesn't work that way. I mean, I follow the IL money as closely as trying to think of the other members of the group here.
Yeah. Okay. And then our next weight class, I forget. We are now at 165.
Michael Caliendo. That's the only prediction I got right.
That he'd make the finals.
He'd make the final runner-up, but because last time he got tech fall by Mitchell Misselbrink, the returning national champion, so far two-time Big Ten conference champ. But I mean, I know he still lost 4-1, sucks, but that's a huge improvement compared to being tech last time.
Right. And I guess sportsmanship there. He went and talked to him a little bit afterwards. Caliendo. And I guess the announcers asked what the conversation was, and just said, I told him I appreciate him being a scrappy wrestler because I'd rather wrestle somebody scrappy than who stands there with their arms on me.
Yeah, I mean, it's good sportsmanship. I mean, it's good for the sport too. But you're looking at the two best wrestlers at this weight class. I'm pretty sure Misselbrink he'll probably get the 1 seed. As for Caliendo, a 2 or 3 seed. I mean, I'd be shocked if he got a 3 seed personally, but these are the two best wrestlers at this weight class.
Okay. And is Caliendo, is he coming back next year?
Yes, he is. And he had 2 tech falls, so he's getting bonus points too. I mean, we 4.
Okay. And then after that, 174.
Patrick Kennedy, yes. Yes, I thought he'd get to the semifinals, which he was given the 4 seed, so he's kind of expected to get to the semifinals. But he gets 2 tech falls before falling to Levi Haynes, Penn State, losing to him 10-3. He returning national champion, but wrestled he got 5th. Okay, so loses to Ohio State, Korchula 4-2, close match. He's in it.
But aren't these guys they beat earlier in the year when they wrestled them before, and we're losing to them in the Big Ten tournaments?
Yep, and this is why when I mentioned before, sometimes these non-conference dual, like Iowa State, Oklahoma State, those are more important than some of the Big Ten dual meets because you can get your revenge match at the Big Ten tournament.
Right. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I was kind of thinking the same thing too. Is why when you're wrestling these Big Ten matches and you come away with the victory over these guys know you so well now that in the Big Ten matches that they know what to do, get you. You know, this guy obviously knew how to pin LL. He studied him pretty well to know that when he did this, he was going on his back.
I mean, he made a mistake putting his head down, and it cost him. Cost him with the fall. And before we move on, I will say Kennedy did get a fall, so he's getting bonus points for the team. So I can be an All-American, and hopefully he gets a decent seed. But he might be seated outside the top 8. So what kind of drawing he gets.
Okay, and next we have
184, one of your favorite wrestlers, Gabe Arnold.
Yeah. Well, I liked him last year before they redshirted him. He was an aggressive attacking person, but I didn't see that. I haven't seen that from him this year. He's aggressive and as attacking as he usually is.
I think he's more of a 74-pounder, and that's when you're going to see him a lot more aggressive. But he's being cautious because he may be a little bit undersized at 184, even though he's still able to hang with some of these other guys. So his first round match, he gets a tech fall over Orlando Cruz of Purdue before losing to Jackson Smith. And he beat Jackson Smith at Maryland at that dual meet. He beat him in overtime, and this time Smith beats him in overtime, right out 3-2. Gets sent to the backside, and let's see, he wins 10-1 over Halverson of Northwestern, and then he gets an injury default over Washington of Indiana before, Ed Ruth of Illinois. He's beaten him last year, and that's part of the reason why Ruth was given a 6th seed. Ruth got kind of a revenge match on Arnold right there before Arnold gets sent for a 4th and 5th place match, and he beats Alred of Nebraska 4-3.
Okay. All righty.
Now, I think.
All right, we're gonna take a break right here for just a minute.
Okay.
Yep. All right. Just in case you guys haven't figured it out, we're part of the Villain Sports Network. We still don't have our logo up there yet, though. I know he's working on it, and so our logo should show up. Anyhow, special thank you to Andrew, who nicely helps me get this all set up every week and every time I do a podcast. And Brandon and Brad. Brandon was supposed to be on the show, in case you guys are wondering where he's at. We are too. We don't know where he's at.
Hopefully he's driving safe.
Yeah, hopefully he's safe and everything is okay. All righty. 197.
All right. So the one weight class I thought we would get a Big Ten champion. Didn't happen. But Stephen Buchanan, a transfer from Wyoming, and he was also at Oklahoma at one time. But I will say I did predict that he was going to go up against Michigan's Cardenas, but it just didn't go his way. I mean,
so who comes away with the number 1 seed in the Nationals?
Now, get this. AJ Ferrari, since now he's in the pack, he actually won his conference title. He actually wrestled his very first top 10 opponents and won. I think a very close match, but he's the only undefeated wrestler at 197. So he could be given the number 1 seed because he is the returning national champion, even though it's been years.
Oh, wow.
And then you could be looking at Stephen Buchanan with a number 2 seed, 3 seed. But Cardenas, he's probably going to be seated over Buchanan.
Because he won. He had and that's only right? If you beat the number 1 seed, you would expect to be ahead of him in the seedings.
Last competition, when they do head-to-head, sometimes you'll wrestle the same opponent twice in one season. Usually they go by who won last.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So then we got at heavyweight somebody who I didn't think Keeter had the. I didn't think he could get us this far. But number 3.
I thought he would overperform his seeding, but oh man, I did not think he was going to get 3rd. And man, so he wins his first round match against Hayden. Hayden Filipovich, 5-1 before getting pinned by the number 2 ranked number 2 seed Greg Kirkvitz, who gets 2nd. So
everybody gets 2nd because if you're wrestling Gable Stevenson, you're not going to beat him.
No, but he did make it competitive in the finals. Stevenson only winning 10-3, but after the match, the interview with Gabe Stevenson, I mean, he wanted more. I mean, that's how competitive he is. He wasn't satisfied with that performance.
Oh, no. And he's probably overall number 1 seeded in Nationals and probably should win it.
Yeah, he should. He really should. And going back to Ben, so then he wrestles, gets a 5-1 win over Bullock, Indiana, and he starts going on a tear all the way for 3rd place. And after that, he gets a win over Vandia of Michigan State, 8-2. He beats Feldman, Ohio State. That's a revenge match right there, revenge win. He wins that 2-0, and then gets a 2-1 win over Michigan's Heiselmull.
Some of those names I hadn't heard before. I'm just wondering, when we wrestled some of those schools, did they hold some of them back?
I kind of wonder too. Al, it's gonna be kind of interesting how they're gonna seed Ben too. Um, Going into the Big Ten tournament, I didn't think he could become an All-American, but now he could. He could. He can definitely be competitive now. I don't expect him to make it to the semis, or I mean, he's not going to make it to the finals. Let's be real. I mean, he's just a little bit undersized. You got other guys like Oklahoma State has Henderson, who's a returning finalist. Also, State has a runner-up, Schultz, who actually wrestled Gable Stevenson a few years back. So he's got some stiff competition to try to get through. He's going to have to probably make maybe three upsets, maybe one really big upset and two other upsets to be able to All-American.
Look, I'm at the point where I think Keeter either should drop down a couple of weights because he's so freaking skinny to be a heavyweight, or just go back to football and become the linebacker that we all hoped he would be.
Well, after Steve Buchanan's gone, I mean, 197 is kind of open. So, I mean, it's a possibility. I'm not sure if he wants to drop the weight.
Yeah.
Because heavyweights would rather be.
I'm trying to figure out what's going to happen when he goes back to football. Obviously, spring practice will start about the time the nationals are over, so he can go right into football spring practice. But is Tom Brand's going to wait for this guy to finish his football season, which will probably be in January, to rejoin the team, or does he try to do both during the season?
I mean, it's possible you can do both, but it's so challenging to be a two-sport college athlete. It takes a lot of dedication and discipline.
Yeah, I bet. So, as you know, last night I was thinking that, and I'm afraid to admit this overall, that I was thinking maybe it's time for the Tom Brand's era to end because his wrestlers underachieved. He had two wrestlers that either stayed the course with their seeding or overperformed. The rest of them all underperformed their seeding, and it just seems to become a habit. And I also said that it just seems like we don't have that aggressiveness. And I mean, Tom Brands was an aggressive wrestler. You did not want to rest him.
Oh, he's well hated for a reason. Will not like. I say just wait and see how nationals plays out, because he can have a really bad performance at the Big Ten and still become a national champion. Spencer Lee was only a 2-time Big Ten champion and still a 3-time national champion. I mean, the Big Ten champion is the toughest conference wrestling championship or wrestling tournament, bar none.
Yeah. By the way, guys, I said at the thing that we were going to stream all over the place, and a couple of Twitter accounts did not go in, but we got Andrew from the Villain Sports Network behind the scenes opening up some more places for us to stream right now. So good. We're streaming in a few extra places.
So real quick, Twitter had a cyber attack on their main accounts today, so nobody can go live right now. It's nothing you did wrong. They just had a cyber attack, so you can't go live. But yeah, I connected to some more, man. Have a great show.
Thank you. Appreciate it, Andrew. Yeah, he takes care of me. Man, I could screw this whole thing up if he weren't taking care of me.
But I mean, the Brands brothers, I mean, it seems like, they're not reaching that expectation, the Dan Gable expectation. I mean, the man who pretty much built an empire.
Yeah.
And
I read a lot of places on Facebook and every place else that people are upset with Tom Brands right now.
They are, and rightfully so, especially if you're going to spend that kind of money to bring in these athletes and they're performing. I mean, if you got some kind of invested interest into a sports team, like, I get it. I can totally understand why people be upset.
Yeah. Okay. So
my big question is, if you want to get rid of Tom Brands, Terry Brands, who would you want to replace them with?
Yeah.
But, Spencer Lee, I really do believe he's going to be the future head coach at Iowa. So doesn't
he need some coaching experience, like come back and be an assistant coach for a while?
No, because you have someone like David Taylor. He replaced John Smith. I mean, right after the what was it, the World Team Trials or Olympics. Pretty much, John Smith said he was going to retire. I mean, legendary athlete and coach at Oklahoma State. And Taylor, no coaching experience, comes right in.
Yeah. Kelvin says that he doesn't think Keeter's going to do football again this year. If he doesn't, he probably will never do football again. You know, it'd be a shame because we could use a couple of good linebackers, and he's a good one.
I was going to ask you, what position does he play? Linebacker? Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. But he's just so freaking skinny. It's just, you look at him, and it's like, man, he's not your typical looking heavyweight.
No, long. Yes.
No, I mean, he needs to put on some muscle if he wants to compete with the real heavyweights.
Yeah.
And that's why I didn't think he would do well. But, you know, to his credit, he fooled me. He heard my challenge to him, and he said, "I'm going to prove you wrong, Dean.
Yeah.
I'm going to get it." And he did it. Okay.
Oh, anything else to go over?
Well, let's just kind of like, you're so in tune. Where do you think some of these some of us will be placed? Like Drake Ayala probably would have gone in with the #1 ranking nationally.
Would have.
Now he won't, right?
Probably going to get the #2 seed. Okay. Guess what? He's still very capable of being a finalist. Okay. He can be a returning finalist, but he cannot be making stupid mistakes like putting your head down like that. Mm-hmm. I'm pretty sure he got an earful from both Tom and Terry Brands. Yeah. But I'm pretty sure we will have at least one finalist. I think it could come down to Drake. It could come down to Stephen Buchanan. But I mean, 197 is going to be interesting how they're going to do the seedings.
Okay, all righty. Kelvin says, wasn't Taylor a Penn State guru coach?
Yeah, well, he wasn't a coach. He was an athlete under, Cale Sanderson, but he was part of the Nittany Lion Wrestling Club.
Okay, so yeah, I would say we're so busy chasing Penn State, we forgot to look behind us because Oklahoma State's going to get there and maybe pass us.
It depends on the recruiting battle. And also,
didn't they pick up a couple of good ones that we were hoping to go to Iowa?
Yeah, they have.
Yeah, so they're winning the recruiting battle too. But this Bo, what's his name? Bo Bassett.
Bo Bassett, yes.
Okay, recruit coming next year. Where does he fit?
Let's take a look. Well, hopefully 141. I mean, wherever we can put him.
Yeah. Well, that's what I want to know. If he's close enough to fill in some of our weak spots.
Yes, I would have to say so, especially even 157 when Teamer leaves and some of the seniors when they're gone. But we should probably do a show about the recruiting and stuff like that for another day because I'm not quite caught up with that.
Yeah, we could do that. I know that last year we did a show after the season ended on who's coming back, and then we got blindsided with everybody transferring out. Whoops. Yeah. Got on that show a little too quick.
Yeah. But I'm at the Iowa wrestling page right now. I see Drew Ayala, 125 or 133 pounds, but just a freshman. But Gabe Arnold, he's going back to down 174. I mean, almost guaranteed. Angela's going to take that spot, and I'm looking forward to next year already. So,
okay. Yeah. Kelvin says Penn State, Iowa, and Oklahoma State are all on the same plane money-wise. Recruiting, NIL, difference coaching. Penn State has Dan Gable now. Yeah, he's basically a Dan Gable.
Yeah, yes.
I won't lie about that. I bet Iowa State wishes they would have kept him.
Yeah, how many times can lightning strike at the same place? Iowa State.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, but he's 45 years old. How long can a guy actually coach
Just look
in
at
wrestling? Because if you're the type of guy that wants to get on the floor and wrestle with these guys to show them moves, which if I was coaching wrestling, that's what I would be doing. So I'd be too old because, I wouldn't be able to show them anymore because they'd be just too bigger and stronger than me.
I mean, just look at John Smith. I mean, he's been there for such a long time too. I mean, almost a few decades after Dan Gable retired.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Gable even came back for a year after he retired. I think it was Brands' first year or second year.
I mean,
he helped Brands out.
Yeah, he just couldn't walk away from it, and just some people are like that.
Okay. So I was telling somebody I thought that Sanderson could last 10 more years and go to 55, but heck, maybe he'll go longer.
There you go.
Yeah, but okay. What else do we have on the docket for the wrestling? That went a little faster than I thought, only because we had one other person who I thought was going to help us out, and he's not here tonight.
Is this Kelvin Allen Fisher?
Hmm?
Is this Kelvin Allen Fisher?
Yes, this is the Calvin that you guys were discussing last night. Well, let's talk about that. Okay, the discussion that you guys had last night on Facebook about the last time outside of Spencer Lee that we had a national champion.
It was, and thank you, Kelvin. You're the one who provided the information, but it was
not national champion, but Big Ten title champion. I'm sorry.
Had Spencer Lee, but before that, you had Corey Clark, only back in 2017, the last wrestler to win a national title for Iowa. Besides Lee. But I mean, you got Michael Kemmerer. He won a Big Ten title back in 2021, the year after COVID. You have Alex Marinelli. He also won a Big Ten title, but I mean, just could not.
Okay, so you guys were talking national title, and I was, yeah, that's what Calvin just verified, national title.
Yeah.
Okay, I was thinking Big Ten title. Okay, that's fine. That just tells you when I don't pay attention, things are going on.
And just how much we're struggling just at nationals, just trying to produce more national champs.
Yeah. And then, of course, we had, you guys mentioned Derek St. John in 2013, but somehow overlooked Tony Ramos in 2014.
Ramos, yep. Smaller guy, 125, I believe. Maybe one.
Yeah. At first, I had him confused with the Ramos that wrestles for Purdue.
Oh, Matt Ramos, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
He went into the Big Ten tournament, ranked number 1, undefeated, loses. I mean, that's how competitive the Big Ten tournament really is.
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, it's just crazy. Metcalf in 2010 and 2012.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so
he's probably one of the meanest Iowa Hawkeye wrestlers we ever had.
Have you ever watched that series? You had to buy it specially from somewhere and then download it to your computer or TV or something, called The Duel.
No, I haven't.
Okay, it brings back I believe it was Harold Nichols and Dan Gable.
Okay.
Talk about the year that Iowa State ended Iowa's run and they wrestled twice that year. We got them the first time, but in the second time, we were ranked 1 and 2, and they nailed us. If I can remember right, but it had those two sitting there talking to each other. I think it's Harold Nichols. It's got to be if it's from back in the Gable days. So okay, Calvin wants you to predict the top 6 teams in the NCAA.
Okay, Penn State, number 1. That's an easy one to go with. Number 2, it's going to be probably a bloodbath between Oklahoma State, Iowa, Nebraska. Excuse me, I can just check internet, right?
So you think Nebraska will be right there with the big boys?
As long as they're getting bonus points. I mean, they're sending 9 out of the 10 wrestlers. If they get a wild card and at-large bid, they could bring all 10 of their squads, just like Penn State.
Okay.
So let's take a look at. Okay, Intermat Wrestling, they have like rankings by tournament and duel. I'm just looking at the tournament. I mean, you got Penn State, Iowa, Oklahoma State, Nebraska, Minnesota. So there's your top 5 right there. Even UNI is actually being really competitive right now. They got second at the Big 12 tournament, just by a few points behind Oklahoma State. But any other teams outside that?
Okay. Is Cornell good? That's what he wants to know. Is Cornell good?
I can tell you.
By the way, before you go on that, it wasn't Harold Nichols. It was Gibbons. That was the coach of Iowa State. I should know better than that.
So Cornell's ranked number 9 right now. I don't know their team like as well as I know some of the Big Ten teams. So these Ivy League schools.
Yeah.
It's actually ranked number 11 now.
Okay. Yeah. So Gibbons, just to mention, when he was at Iowa State, he coached his little brother Joe. I don't know if you remember Joe Gibbons or not,
Oh, I
but
remember.
he started out at Columbus and Waterloo and ended up at Ames and then at Iowa State. So yeah, Waterloo Columbus is where I went, and so to high school. That's why I brought that up. So wrestling was a big sport for Columbus. We dominated the area in wrestling when I was there. Okay, Schwab is a good coach. Where is he at right now?
Doug Schwab, he's the head coach at UNI.
Maybe it's time for him to move on and get some bigger experience.
You're really wanting to replace the brands.
Okay.
Oh,
Is this the same Schwab that coached at Buena Vista College at one point wrestling? Because I seem to remember my nephew went wrestling for 2 years, I think, at Buena Vista College, and I thought there was a Schwab that was his coach, and then later moved to UNI.
Well, I'm going to look up Doug Schwab's background real quick.
That would be cool. Then we could answer some questions there. But my nephew, he ended up, because of his girlfriend, he ended up transferring to Iowa State. While he didn't wrestle for Iowa State, he did work out with the Iowa State wrestlers.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, let's see. Freestyle, yep. University of Northern Iowa men's friend, yep.
Check out Mark Schwab while you're at it.
Yeah, Doug just says he's Osage, Iowa. Yeah, his accomplishments. Okay. So Mark Schwab?
Yeah.
Okay, look that up.
4-time state champion. From Osage. By the way, my roots began in Osage.
Awesome. Is that
Yeah. They're usually a wrestling powerhouse in the state of Iowa too.
Mark Schwab, Hall of Famer?
Current number one, Andrew, is Penn State. They have been for a long time, and they ain't going to give it up anytime soon.
No. But this is an older team, Penn State team, at least with Carter Starachi. Trying to think. Oh, actually, they're not as old as I thought. He's the only one that I can really think of. Because Carter Starachi, he's working to be the only 5-time national champion.
Yeah. Why is that?
Because
COVID?
he's
COVID?
Yep.
Okay. So who's the freshman that won yesterday at
125?
Yeah.
That is
for Penn State.
Starts with an L. So I can look that up real quick.
Labucci.
Yeah, it's Luke Littledell.
Okay, yeah. Yeah. He was kind of impressive, actually. He kind of came out with that same Penn State attitude. And, I'm just surprised that as many points as Penn State racked up yesterday or this weekend, I'm actually kind of surprised that their guys didn't do overall individually better. Some of them.
He's a true freshman, too, by the way.
Yeah, I know it. And that's one thing, too, that Brenz doesn't like to do. He doesn't like to wrestle true freshmen in big-time situation. Now, I know he gave in on Spencer Lee's freshman year, so he lost a half a season, and then he finally gave in and let him start the second half of the season. But, I mean, think about where it'd be if we had Ferrari all season wrestling.
Yeah, but, I mean, I think he had to burn the red. He had to use the red shirt on him, or else if he would have benched Gabe Arnold, that would have been a wasted red shirt from the other season.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I suppose. Could be. Alrighty. Did you ever find anything out on Mark?
I did the same stuff. Went to UNI.
Nobody at Buena Vista College. Then I guess I got the wrong guy.
Yeah, Schwab.
I'll send this one to my nephew, then he can correct me.
Yeah, the Schwab families are just part of the National Wrestling Hall of Fame.
Okay. All righty. Let's kind of move on real quick to some basketball real quick. Let's talk about that real quick. I know that you probably weren't paying a whole lot of attention when we got our big win against Nebraska yesterday on Senior Day in Lincoln.
Now, did Fran show any emotion? Was he pretty happy, excited?
Well, it's kind of hard. I mean, we maintained about a 15, 12-point lead the entire time. Never really gave it up. I mean, we started out slow, and then we came back, and they got about 12, 15 points ahead, and that's pretty much the cushion for the whole game. And so, yeah, I thought in a show of sportsmanship, I believe the guy's last name is Gary for Nebraska. When he went out, because he's a senior, when he went out of the game, the Iowa players came up and each gave him a hug.
Good.
As he exited the floor. And I thought what a great show of sportsmanship, considering Nebraska and Iowa are getting to the point where they're just kind of bitter rivals now. But what I wanted to really go over is Iowa finished 15th in the Big Ten, which allows them to play against, here we go, Ohio State, who's 10th seeded in the tournament. You know, and in case anybody hasn't figured out, the bottom three teams are not going to the tournament this year, which I believe is Nebraska, Nebraska, Purdue. Gosh darn it, I can't remember who finished at the bottom. USC, Nebraska, and I can't remember the other one. Somebody just shoot me and tell me who it is.
So pretty much they're going to win it to be in it.
What's that?
They're going to win the Big Ten to be in the big dance.
Well, here's what I got. Okay, we got Ohio State. Okay, we play them on Wednesday about 6:30 Central Time. Okay, if we win that, then we take on 7th seeded Illinois. Okay, Washington is the other team that didn't make it. Penn State and Nebby. Okay. All right, I thought it was USC. I got it wrong. Okay. Okay, so then we would take on 7th seeded Illinois. These are two games that I feel like we can win. But you know who's waiting for us if we get past there? It's number 2 Maryland. And here's the kind of thing that surprises me. Maryland with the number 2 seed, UCLA with the number 4 seed. If we remember, before they played Iowa, the coach was angry and upset, and they were on a losing streak. Iowa was their get healthy game. They smoked the crap out of us, and they've been on a tear ever since. So, yeah. And then, of course, that would be that. So it's going to be quite interesting. But I wanted to talk a little bit about what Iowa's postseason chances are beyond the Big Ten tournament. Okay. They mentioned on there that Iowa and Nebraska both could still get postseason play. I think if Iowa were to win 2, they might make the NIT. If they could win 2 in this tournament. My personal feeling. Okay. That would give them 18 wins.
What kind of seed
do you think? Into the NIT with 18 wins last year.
What kind of seed do you think they get in the NIT?
Oh, I don't know. Not very good. But the NIT has reformatted itself to where it's mainly Power 4 teams now. And they will take teams with losing records in there. And so they're just basically building it that way. Of course, there's the annual CBI tournament. I don't know. Somebody's saying that tournament's mainly for the mid-majors now. I don't know. And then there's this thing I saw advertised during the basketball game yesterday. Or it was also, I think, during the wrestling meet, the Crown in Las Vegas. March 28th through April 6th. Though they said Iowa could possibly make the Crown, be one of the 16 Power 4 teams. Okay. And I'm looking at that and thinking, what the heck? That means they would pretty much have to take a couple of weeks off and practice if they got invited to the Crown. And that would be like, because they're going to find out their seeding next week after the Big Ten. So, yeah, so they'll find out they'll find out on the 16th if they're going to get any postseason play or not.
All right.
Okay, and so there's still hope out there, everybody. If you're still hoping that the men can do well, and of course that will disappoint everybody who wants Fran fired, because if they get some kind of a postseason tournament play, he's probably good to come back. I mean, he's not leaving on his own anyway, and why would he? Because he would be walking away from $4 million if he did.
I mean, fans need to ask themselves, are you comfortable with the buyout?
Well, that's just it. Is Beth going to pull the trigger and do the buyout after she looks at the low attendance at the men's game, the apathy toward Fran right now? Or is she just going to say, hey, you got some decent recruits coming next year. Let's talk about your attitude. Let's see if we can fix things and get things going. Then she promises him, that they're going to redo the arena. But I think right now they just need to redo the seating in the arena and start moving the students on top of everybody, all around the bowl, all around it, on the bottom. Give them the best seats in the house and make sure that their hands are waving on every free throw. Make sure that they're yelling and screaming. Make sure they're parked behind the bench. I mean, when Iowa went to Illinois and that Orange Crush, did you see where they were sitting? Right on top of the teams, right on top of the floor. I mean, okay. Calvin says Iowa's expected to get in the NIT easily if Iowa accepts a bid.
I say good. Good for them.
I think they would accept the bid. Why wouldn't you? That's money in your pocket.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think they accept a bid if they get it. But I think they would have to win at least 2 games to get there. At least one for sure. They can't be a one and done team. That's for sure. Not like the indication. But wouldn't this be the crazy year that they make a run in the Big Ten and then make a run in the NCAA or something? We make a run in the Big Ten, 5 wins in 5 days, and make a run and win the title, and they have to put us in the tournament.
Got to upset a lot of analysts and just
Yeah. Okay, now Calvin is saying this, if coaching change might not go. Well, true. The only problem is if your team is getting accepted in a bid, you're not talking coaching changes yet. Because Iowa will know on March 16th, probably very late at night when most of us are sleeping, if they're going anywhere.
Yeah.
So anyway, I just kind of wanted to bring that up real quick. I didn't expect the basketball segment to be real long. I was supposed to get some help from Brandon. Brandon, where are you?
Hope you're all right.
Yeah. We'll see if he's even actually. He ain't even checked this thing.
Okay, I have one final question for you, Dean.
Okay, go for it.
What would you want Beth to say to Tom and Terry?
Tom and Terry?
Yep.
I'm saying I think your guys' jobs are safe, but we gotta start wrestling better. Okay, so we got Calvin saying he doubts we stay close to Ohio State.
Make it competitive. Just be competitive.
Yeah. Well, we're using 3 guys to replace Freeman. And honestly, out of the 3, I kind of like Braum a little bit. He's the one, number 0. I kind of like what he's doing. He seems to be the most productive out there, pulling down rebounds, actually scoring some buckets. And what is this? Yeah, it's okay. Andrew, just tell him real quick that we're about to wrap this up. So. Well, Andrew's online here, and we're in the group text over here. Somebody's offering to come in live and help us out, but we're done.
Yeah, and hopefully, we'll have to do another show. Maybe we can do a show when the Big Ten, when the national brackets are out for wrestling.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Calvin has a final question for you, Jared. What would you do with the wrestling program? What? And I want to ask you the same questions. If you were Beth, what would you say to Terry? And
about Beth? Okay, I don't know what you guys are doing, but what you're doing is not working. And just Why aren't you
Yeah.
guys aggressive?
Yeah. And then what change would you make in the program that would actually make us
Oh
more
man,
competitive, get us back to the Dan Gable days when we national champions and Big Ten titles were just expected?
man. I mean, I was a college wrestler, but man, that's a Division I program, man. They're on a completely different level than, let's say, NAIA. So,
Mhm.
I mean, you just gotta get their confidence up. Is what it is. It's more about building mental toughness. Okay.
Right. Okay. All right. I mean, I think we can do this. We can get back there. Okay. Okay. Vandy has a serious question here.
Okay.
Will Iowa make a run to hire Drake head coach and get Iowa playing competitive in basketball again? I absolutely do not think they will.
Hey, congratulations to Drake on
Winning the MVP. Was it MV Midwest Valley or Valley Midwest? I can't. What is their
I thought-
conference called? MVC, Midwest Valley Conference. Yes.
Oh,
Third
that's-
year in a row with a new coach and basically a whole new team. Congratulations to Drake. I watched that game. However, I don't want to. I said this yesterday, and I took some beating on Facebook this morning on it. Is his team was playing tenacious defense against Bradley. However, I don't want to go back to Licklider days, passing the ball 15,000 times, and then with 2 seconds left on the shot clock, shooting it up and hope it goes in. You know, I'm sorry. You know, I don't want to win games in the 60s or the 50s. I just don't. I appreciate the defense that he's run, but if this coach is going to bring that, Todd Licklider, he's already proved you can't win in the Big Ten with that style of ball. That might work in the Missouri Valley or some mid-major school, but it's not working in the Big Ten. We're going to get eaten alive with all the athletes and stuff that they got, you know. And we don't have the guys that can play that style of ball right now. Just my personal opinion. Okay. All right, guys. I want to thank you guys. Appreciate you for watching. Those of you who know Brandon, give him a hard time. He hasn't been on Facebook or Messenger for over 2 hours. So hopefully nothing's wrong with him. Everything is cool with him. And so we hope everything is fine with him because he's not checked in at all. Yeah, with that, I am going to get us out of here. Thank you, everybody, for watching. Thank you, Andrew.
Thanks for having me.
You bet. We'll do it again at Nationals.